All right, what's going on, everybody? So I know I have a lot of you guys watching that are watching me for various reasons. A lot of you guys are trying to keep up with the current events, getting insights, prophetic words, or discernment, knowledge, anything that you can to make sense of the world. And one of the callings that God has given me, apart from just exhortation, encouragement, your purpose, your walk in life, to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind, and all these different things, right, is that He has given me a heart of discovery, of discernment, and of making sense of the times, and to navigate people and help navigate people to what is the correct perception of reality. And I talk about the information war that we are in and how it's really negatively impacting so many people. People are arguing over things, how to perceive what's going on, what's really right, what's really wrong, and people are anchoring themselves off in some sense, misinformation, in some sense, propaganda, in other areas, just the wrong truth, meaning that it's known in partial now, but as time passes, something else comes up that supersedes or says that this was actually the case. You know, Hunter Biden laptop, many other issues are that example of that, right? And so people are flustered, they're confused, and they really can't make sense of these things. The same is going for, election fraud and COVID and vaccines and just many topics that are out there, right? And one of the ways that God has given me a calling or a word of encouragement is to help a lot of you guys to be able to properly discern and to understand what's going on. So it's not to give a man a fish so that he can eat for a day, but teach a man to fish so that he can eat for a lifetime. So this channel is not to regurgitate news. It's not to do some kind of reporting, investigative reporting. It's not to look out and say, hey, this is what happened. There's many journalists, there's many articles, there's many sleuths and people that are trying to amalgamate all these sources. I follow Telegram. A lot of people ask me, where do you get your news and things like that? The problem is that I can't just say that this is the right source of news, this is the right area that you've got to be listening to, because a lot of these people also are trying to figure some things out. And so they may be right in many areas, and then they have to correct something, whatever it is. I follow a lot of my news on Telegram. I follow a lot of news on some of the bigger, players, Epic Times, and some of these channels also, OANN, and these guys, as well as other websites. I also look at a lot of the mainstream news just to see what they say. I look at Substack and many people that are just reading there. I watch and listen to, at times, X22 Report. It's a very good amalgamation of some of the news that's going on. I listen to other podcasts. I listen and read through many articles, many different things. And the Lord would give me a discernment, a spirit of, hey, be careful to understand this, be careful to receive this cautiously. I've talked about that with the Russia-Ukraine situation and many other issues, right, over the years. But really, this is also a gift to be able to discern and really understand what's going on, the spirit of discovery, the spirit of really just trying to get into the weeds and say, ignore this, read this, pay attention to this, and things like that. And so I'm not here to say that I want to tell you what the truth is and you should read this guy, read that guy. The problem with that becomes that some of these guys, whether they're Christian or not, they may at times come up with things that are in partial truth. It may not be fully baked, fully fleshed out, but afterwards you learn more things about that. And so what I'm here to do, and really what I'm trying to encourage people, is to get a prayer life, to be in the presence of God, to have the Holy Spirit in you so that you can also grow in this area of discernment, of discovery, of weeding out things, of being guarded, being cautious, being optimistic, being able to discern and have this spirit so that you can't just eat things, right? I say people eat the news like it's a buffet, I got to believe all of these things. A lot of people, they read a couple of articles, they read 2 or 3 articles, they think they know something about something, right? It's a saying I always say. But a lot of us, right, have to grow in this area in order to overcome the schemes of the enemy, which is that as the prince of the airwaves, he's trying to convict you, to have you believe certain ideologies. It's going crazy with the young generation, right? Those that identify as LGBTQ, and just all these different things that are clouding our judgment of what is biblical truth. And so, again, this is what I encourage people to do. I don't want to tell you. And again, people are always asking me, like, how do you know this? How do you know that? And all that stuff. So I don't want to say, like, hey, read this article, read that article. And then everyone's just going to nitpick at the person, the article, and all these different things. But I'm here to encourage people and to drive people to a direction for which don't default back to the mainstream media. Don't default back to just because the consensus is this, just because your pastor said this, just because your friend said this. I'm trying to encourage people to learn to train yourself to be better at discernment, to be better at discovery, to be better at reading the news, to be able to tie things and the times, and then more importantly, how it relates to the spiritual battle, the spiritual temperature of what's going on, seeing it from a bigger picture. You may not necessarily see the angels and demons fighting over a principality, right? But you can be able to better understand what is a tactic that the enemy is using. What is a tactic that the news is doing? What are they trying to counter? What is the narrative that they want to push? What is the agenda that's going on behind closed doors or in the public eye and things like that? And so again, because I do want to clarify one thing. A lot of people are so confused about the Russia-Ukraine stuff. A lot of people are on different sides. A lot of people don't really know what is going on with what Trump is saying, with what Russia and Ukraine are saying, and all these different things, right? And so we're in the midst of a battle for which a lot of people, they are given the choice to do their own research. They're given a choice to be able to see how the mainstream media, the fake news, and all these guys are trying to present their side, only to then be presented later with the facts and the truth. And so this battle is getting thicker and thicker, right? So I want to give you guys this really good, in essence, a good summary of some of the things that are going on. And so when I follow some of these guys, right, a lot of times they'll have summaries to put together their thoughts. I've talked about, things like the evolution, Patel Patriot, and those kind of things. There's other areas, little small areas, right? So you got COVID and the vaccine stuff. But with the Russia-Ukraine situation, this stuff is really tied to a lot of the holistic movement of the New World Order, the globalist agenda, and all these different things. And so I want to read an excerpt because it was so good in the way it was summarizing certain things. And again, these are the types of things that I read everywhere and I can get insight to. Some of them is a good hypothesis. Some of them is someone's thoughts. Others are just good journalistic reporting of a summary. Now, people can refute this and argue against it and things like that. But again, the Lord, He shows me certain things. He says, hey, this is a good insight. It may be incomplete or flawed in some way, but this is more true than something else. And more importantly, it will, the Lord also shows me this is false. This is not what you've got to look at. And then other areas He'll show me like, oh, this is in the spirit, like this is something you have to really chew on and try to digest, right? And so again, I'm not here to say that I know everything about all these different things, but in this one instance, I want to give you guys some, I want to say comfort in some sense if you choose to receive it. Again, pray about it. Pray, is this, like, as I read this, is this true? Is this one way to look at it? Is this possibly what's going on behind the public eye, right? And so all these things, again, truth will come to light. I've said that prophetically. All this truth, everything in darkness, whatever is hidden in the darkness will be exposed and brought to light. And so this is from a Telegram channel that I follow called Bioclandestine, and it's a good summary. So I'll start with this, right? So Russia right now is presenting all this evidence to the UN Security Council, things like that. So what is the reason Russia claims they waged war in Ukraine? To neutralize the US biological capabilities near their border. And so they've said this, right? They brought forth the allegations to the UN Security Council. What did the Biden laptop have evidence of? The Biden family using Hunter as a proxy for biological dealings in Ukraine, using Rosemont Seneca in congruence with Open Society, which is the George Soros organization, to funnel US DoD funds to their own Pentagon contracted biolabs in Ukraine. Think Metabiota, right, etc. The Russians presented all of this evidence before the UN Security Council. This is not some fake news, guys. This is what Russia has proclaimed and said, this is the evidence here, right? Now you can choose to believe it. You can choose to say, oh, it's fake or whatever it is, but this is the news that's happened, right? And it's being presented slowly and people are reporting on it. I'll continue with what he's saying. Let me say that in layman's terms, the U.S. president, or the resident right now, Biden, is using his son, Hunter Biden, as a proxy to take U.S. taxpayer money to funnel into biological laboratories that they own, operating these labs in one of the most corrupt countries on the planet, Ukraine. And Russia went to war over allegations that biological weapons were being produced at these labs, and we have proof of this via emails between Rosemont Seneca and Metabiota on Hunter's laptop. These things will come out soon, which also features him smoking crack and having, three-ways with prostitutes and Pokemon blow-up dolls. And again, you can't make this up, is what he's saying. You can't make this up. This is all on his laptop, right? Now, Trump, I'm reading still. Now, Trump is implying all of this has a direct correlation with China moving into Taiwan. What similarities does Taiwan have with Ukraine? Heavy US-funded biological activity. The Chinese Foreign Ministry has been publicly calling out the US to disclose all information pertaining to their biolabs in Ukraine. And you can see this is what Zhao and these guys have been saying. The US biomilitary activities in Ukraine are only the tip of the iceberg, Zhao has said. Under various names, the US Department of Defense controls 336 biological laboratories in 30 countries. And quote, we once again urge the US side to fully clarify its biological military activities both at home and abroad and accept multilateral verifications, Zhao has said. So this is what China said. So these are facts, guys. Maybe it's not reported on CNN's front page or whatever, but this is the activity going on between Russia with China and many other countries saying, hey, look at what we have. And we want to call out the US DOD and these guys to clarify what you guys know, right? Don't be hiding in the shadows with what this is. This is real news going on, right? This is happening. Now, remember this time, I'm reading again. Remember the timeline. COVID-19 escaped / released from US DOD-funded lab in Wuhan, China. All right, I'm not going to go into that. I've talked about it. You can go look this up. Is it fake? Is it from Wuhan? Is it not, right? I'm not going to argue that. I've already said enough about that. That's the first thing. And then the second, Russia and China accuse US of creating biological weapons. So this has happened. Number 3, US denies claims, right? This has been in the news too. Number 4, Russia it says invades, but Russia attacks or has an incursion on Ukraine and takes out the US biolabs and provides evidence of biological malfeasance. US denies claims again. And then lastly, China agrees with Russia again and is soon to move into Taiwan. So again, I want to clarify here. Russia went in there as a special military operation. They're not there to invade and take over the country and have territorial subjugation over it. They want to take out the US labs and get the evidence of what's going on in these biolabs and then remove the neo-Nazis and the Azov battalion and all these different things that are being glorified as the right side, but as opposed to being the bad side. And so again, a lot of battle in this space. Are they good? Are they bad? And all that. So I'm not going to go into that. I'm going to continue reading. Notice a pattern here. China is moving into Taiwan to take out US biolab activity. There are 13 BSL-4 labs in Asia. There's one in China. It's Wuhan, the origin of C-19. There's also one in Taiwan, the Institute of Prevention Medical Research, or the Institute of Preventative Medical Research in Taoyuan City. And for those that want to say there's no US influence, every building on the campus has the name written in English behind the Mandarin. The US has insane influence in Taiwan to include their highest level biolab housing, the deadliest pathogens known to man. All right. So Trump has known all of this, is going all down, and doesn't seem to be too worried about it. Now, he's made some comments in speeches in many areas. He's implied China, Taiwan, all these different things. There's an assumption there that they have military intelligence and an understanding. They may be working together to fight the New World Order and all these different things. But despite the other two nuclear superpowers accusing the US of creating bioweapons and waging war to take out the U.S. bioweapon capabilities near their countries, directly backlash from C-19, proving that COVID was man-made by actors within the U.S. government. The event that ruined the world economy, ruined human social interaction, deleted the middle class, made the rich richer, changed the voting process before the election, and allowed the global implementation of communism under the guise of public health. All of that was calculated via creating and releasing a biological weapon. They committed genocide for global control. You add all of this on top of the psychological attacks via mass censorship, Orwellian brainwashing, and media gaslighting campaigns, it's arguably the greatest crime against humanity in world history. If there is a precipice, this is it. And so, why am I reading this? So this is one way that as I assess and research and analyze what people are saying, how to look at the news and how to look at the nitty-gritty behind certain things, then you can go to the Lord and say, man, is this true? What's going on? And again, I'm not here to eat up all of this completely, but it sounds very logical from the perspective of what's actually going on. That's not propaganda. That's not US-led propaganda. And it's very hard to swallow. And so I know you guys watching, a lot of you are following this and you guys are in alignment, in agreement, and you know what really is going on. And that's what I've been saying, in yesterday's video or a couple days ago about, March and April. And a lot of people, they argue because their understanding, their perception of reality, the way that they consume and see what's really going on, who's good, who's evil, who's all these different things. I've given a lot of prophetic words about Putin, about Russia, and all these different things. But as time passes, and as I read and as I assess these things, it becomes clear to me how the Lord is working through these people and what he's doing to eradicate evil, or to at least slow down and take out the New World Order and the globalist agenda, which is not arguable in the existence of that, right? But he's working, God's working through these people and doing these different things. The question and the problem we have is that what's going on behind closed doors? Trump knows something, the presidents know something, all these people, they know something, they don't want to admit it, they want to censor it, they want to gaslight you, they want to do all these different things. And this is what, as a normal person like you and me that are trying to discern the world, we have to be cautious about how we take this information and process it. So a lot of you guys are asking me, where do I read opinions and channels and news and things like that? So I go on Telegram. There's a lot of channels. I follow a lot of different channels. I go on all these different sites. I go on I even read the mainstream media, guys. I watch clips. I watch a lot of different things. The Lord will show this to me, and then I make a conclusion. I make the discernment based on what I read and I see. I'm not going to just assume this is right just because somebody has been very consistent and I agree with their perspective. What I just read is a good summary of a way to look at it. And now, if you want to ask me, is it true? A lot of it I agree with, to be honest. But again, this is something that a lot of people, they're not ready to consume. They're not ready to be red-pilled, and I guess is a word. They're not ready to understand these things. And I know many of you guys follow me, and then you guys have this complaint about current events and news and things like that. But again, I have multiple assignments. I'm not just here to tell you that God's going to, deliver you from your, troubles and that things are going to get better and things like that for you. And yeah, for many of you, that's the case. But I'm also leading people and helping people to navigate the times as a regular Christian living in all of this that's going on. And so news, current events, discernment is one part of it, right? And again, you guys can argue about what I had read from this guy on Telegram. But what's the point here? That we have to be in a place as Christians to not only do the basics, and I talk about biblical wisdom. You have your gospel message. You got to be saved. You have to be able to grow in your Christ-likeness, in your application of biblical understanding, in your prayer life, and getting in the Word. And then as you go level up in some sense in discerning the news in the world and ideologies, and all the different different doctrines that are not doctrines, cultural ideologies that are going on, how to navigate that and still be rooted as a Christian so that you're not torn apart and led down a path for which then you have this blemish in you have a solid understanding of Christ and God, and then you have some misconstrued understanding of health, of pharmaceutical, of political, of social values, and you have people that are judging world leaders and all these different people, doctors, that are screaming and shouting out, like, this is what's going on in the pharmaceutical industry. This is what's going on in the financial realm. And then you only write them off and laugh at them as being some conspiracy nuts or some whatever it is, right? And so holistically, in order for you to live a healthier lifestyle, you have to be able to get in a position for which you can teach yourself how to fish in the news, how to discern, how to discover, how to read. And again, I know all of us, we don't have all the time in the world, but what have I been saying this last couple of years? Don't just take something like a buffet, like, oh, well, I gotta believe it. Oh, this is just because Reuters and AP and the big guys are saying it, because BBC is saying it, oh, I should just take it as fact. No, you see things getting corrected, or you see a bias, you see a left-leaning, a right-leaning, you have some agenda, whatever it is, right? And some people may genuinely have had the wrong source, right? According to sources, according to intellectual intelligence analysts or whatever it is, but then they were given the wrong thing and they're reporting on the wrong thing. And people have the Gell-Mann effect, right? I've talked about the Gell-Mann amnesia effect, where you look at some news, it's riddled with holes. The cause and effect is often reversed, and all these different things. You combine all of that with fallacies, logical fallacies, and all these different issues, and then you have a recipe for disaster in trying to discern and understand the world. And so it's hard, it's difficult, but you have to teach yourself by having a strong foundation in the Lord first, but then from there, you can be able to, in the Spirit, discern these different things. So again, I want to give that as a word to say, man, people are confused. Everyone has different views. And again, there's more I can say to it, right? But it's a war going on. And people, there's different target audiences. There are people call them, the patriots, they call them anons, they call them all these different types of people that are already awake. They know, they're aware. Trump and all these guys, they don't have to speak to these people, but other people, they are still sleeping, they're not awake, they're really confused. It's not to say they're bad people, it's not to say that they don't have a solid relationship with Christ, but it's that in this realm of news, of discernment, of political, social, economic, and all these different world topics, macro topics, they have a skewed understanding, an incomplete understanding, and sometimes even an outright wrong understanding of what's going on, about health, about therapeutics, about natural immunity, whatever it is that the topic is, and they're being deceived. And that's what I'm saying as being the greatest false prophet, the media and everyone telling you, whispering in your ear, trying to take your attention away from what the truth is and to give you a division to think and to go down a certain path, a rabbit hole. And that's why everybody's shouting at other people, like, you're not right, that's not right. People are yelling at me, oh, you're not right. I mean, I'm okay with you doing the gospel stuff and all the encouraging words, but with the current events in the news, you're wrong, you're wrong. And I've said this before, it's getting thicker. It's getting harder for people to side. There's a duality, there's people taking sides, and it's harder because everyone's pointing across the aisle, across the way, saying that you're wrong. But I'm telling you guys, and I'm not saying that I know everything, but I know as the Lord is showing me certain things, that the truth is there for you to see. And when it clicks, right? People will tell you when you find your wife or your husband, and that's the person that God has for you, then it clicks. It's not like you're trying to wrestle through it and just bite the bullet and you're all anxious and all that stuff. When news and when truth hits you, there's a peace, there's a tranquility, there's an understanding to say, oh, wow, the other stuff, I was forcing myself to try to really digest it, but there was something off about that. And as the Lord reveals things and opens your perspective in your eyes, and more of this truth will come to light. There's so many people that are closed off. All they say is, I'm not going to believe it until I see it on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. I'm not going to believe it until I see it on the mainstream news, on the 5 o'clock news channel. I'm not going to believe it, right? And so again, in those areas, people are closed off and they're not at a level for which you want to be at the bleeding edge of trying to discern the news and get the truth. And it's hard. It's a hard time now, not going to lie. But we got to work through this, guys. And so again, I gave an example here of how I discern and some of the perspective in one area, in the Russia-Ukraine, and how it ties to COVID-19. And again, watch out for China, Taiwan. I'll give prophetic words as the Lord leads. I'll give spiritual sort of understandings and things as the Lord leads. But I combine a lot of that. I'm not just a straight newscaster. I'm not here to tell you. You can follow other people that are trying to amalgamate news sources and they're maybe a funnel for news. You can follow those guys, but I'm just a brother here, guys, trying to encourage some people. And at times, as current events, as news, as it comes up, then I will share that with you and the perspective, my thoughts on it, and how the Lord has led me to encourage you guys as a body to receive it and what to do with it, right? And so again, I've talked about this with many topics, right? But it's necessary, it's needed in this time. So again, people can yell at me, they can argue, but I know most of you guys are in that page and you're aware, you're empathetical, you understand. And I'm so glad for those guys, right? For you guys. And so there are many more guys that are going to wake up and understand and get discernment across what's going on in life, in the world, in current events. But you have to stick tight, stay perseverant, stay prayed up, and continue seeking righteousness, truth, and all these different things, guys. So love you guys and talk to you guys very soon.